And we are back. This is the Casual GM podcast, and I am your host, Drew.
Well,
and
Drew,
I am. What's that?
A little technical difficulty. My AirPods just became disconnected or something because I can't hear a thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's give this a go.
All right. We are still live, and I'm joined always.
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
My co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Drew. How about yourself?
This is emblematic of how the show should go today. You know.
Yeah, everything's fine. And then as soon as we click go live, my earbuds go out, and I'm just like, I got nothing.
You don't know what's happening. So. Well, some little sad news I'm just now seeing here on Twitter is that looks like Ryan Mallett, who was a quarterback at Michigan, that I remember watching, has drowned.
Oh, wow.
And has been pronounced dead at age 35.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Way to start us out on a downer, Drew. But that is, I guess, news and notes around the NFL. He was a backup quarterback for a while, right?
At Michigan, he was, who was it? He backed up somebody else and was kind of like the hot new, next year this guy's going to, be the guy.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember who the quarterback was. See, 15 years ago would have been 2008. Just drawing a blank, but
yeah.
But he got hurt, and Ryan Mallett came in, on short notice and beat Penn State. Not a pushover has never been a pushover as far as I'm aware. And I was always real grateful to Ryan Mallett for, hey, there you are, Penn State. I was always real grateful to Ryan Mallett for coming in and playing well. And then he transferred the next year.
He went to Arkansas.
Yeah, he did. And then he got drafted, I believe. Hey, there's Dr. Detroit. Hey, man.
Dr. D. He got drafted by the Patriots.
Yeah, drafted by the Patriots. Backed up Brady for a minute. And then I think he bounced around the league for a while before retiring pretty early. Yeah. And then
he was
a coach at a football team. Yeah. Without the hat.
He was in New England for 3 seasons, 2011 through 2013. And then he went to the Texans for a couple seasons. He was in the Ravens for a season.
Okay.
21 games played, 8 games started.
Okay.
Mop-up duty.
Yeah, just a journeyman or whatever. See, like Dr. Detroit, like the haircut the hat is necessary because look at this forehead. Look at this. You could land planes there. So, just terrible. But we have kind of a lighthearted, easygoing podcast topic for today. Mike has been compiling questions that either he's seen in the media or that he's had conversations with people. And we're just going to kind of go through like a miniature mailbag. So
kind of a hot takes, midsummer hot takes kind of deal.
Yeah.
Nothing hard hitting or whatever, but it'll be fun. By the way, so not quite news and notes around the NFL because it's a Lions thing, but what do you think about the new Lions helmet, the alternate version helmet?
So I was happy that they did it. So I have advocated for the Lions like increasing their brand and like trying some new things. And I think in the NFL, one of the things that a lot of teams do nowadays are kind of play around with their jerseys and have fun jerseys for a couple of games a year. Like the Bengals white on black jerseys from this last year were real cool, I thought. And then I thought Detroit should get in on that because I have always kind of not liked our Thanksgiving Day uniforms.
Just gray.
So like the gray ones, like in the Honolulu blue is not my favorite. I prefer darker blues. So anyways, I like this look. It's matte instead of shiny, which I am a big fan of. I like that quite a lot. I like the old emblem. I think the old emblem is pretty cool. There's Mark.
There's Mark. Super Bowl or bust, baby.
We missed you last week. We were talking about there's no Super Bowl or bust quote in the chat. I like them, and they're going to wear them twice. I think it's the first time they're on Monday Night Football and then the last game of the season.
That sounds right.
So I'm kind of excited to see them. I kind of wish they'd bring back the black uniforms from the Joey Harrington days. I always thought those were pretty slick.
God, the Matt Millen black. I was a Raider and I need to add black to it to be, edgy. No, thank you.
I wouldn't call him the Matt Millen black.
Well, he was the one that brought those out. He came from the Raiders. He's like, we need to add something to this, and so he added the black under his leadership. Not even that. I can't use that word right. That's not what he did.
Right. So
regime.
Yeah. I liked them. It was about one of the only things the Lions did in those years that I was a fan of. So I don't associate them with Millen. So
yeah.
No such thing as curses or whatever. So
yeah,
I would be fine with the Lions tinkering, if not just completely redesigning their home and away. It's I always have liked white and just black uniforms, and if the team has Honolulu blue and silver, that could be the trim on the uniforms or whatever. But I don't know that it needs to get too complicated, but pretty good stuff. I'm excited to see it on the field. So hey Funky,
what do you guys think? Dr. Detroit, Mark, Funky, Don, anybody that's watching or listening after the fact, throw some feedback in the comments. But what do you guys think? I think it looks sharp. It's not exactly Honolulu blue. It's a little bit of a lighter blue, but I really like it.
Yeah, I'm thumbs up on this. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, do you want to get to mailbaggy type things?
Sure.
All right. Wish they were more white. All right. Yeah, there's not a lot of white, just the lion and the one stripe for the most part. But all right, let's do this. Yeah.
I had an old shirt I wore for years in college with the old Lions emblem on it. So I've always had a soft spot for that emblem for the team.
Yeah.
So
from the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So first question, what is the minimum record or outcome for the Lions to be considered having a successful season? These questions are for you guys in the chat too.
Yeah. So for me personally, I don't like these kinds of questions because they set expectations that we can't affect in any way, shape, or form.
But as a fan, right?
So to me, it's winning as many games as you did last year. I think that ultimately, I think that history remembers your record and not much else, not the plucky attitude that you had, not the new player that you signed or drafted. History remembers your record.
Yep.
And on the back of trading cards or statistics that you're going to be able to easily look up, the thing that I think that people will see about the 2022 Detroit Lions were they won 9 games.
9-8, yeah.
And so to me, do I want them to win more? Absolutely. The minimum level of what a successful season to me looks like is what they did last year, because you're not actively regressing. You can make the case that if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So yeah. I could understand that argument as well, and I probably wouldn't argue too much against it. But for me personally, 9 wins, unless there's some spectacular reasoning injuries or something.
Yeah, I mean, assuming relative health, right?
Right. Yeah. So to me, I'll say 9 wins.
9 wins. Interesting. I figured you'd be we need to make progress, or we're either falling behind or we're moving forward.
Well, so to me, I guess I still think the Lions are a year away. Like that's been the
Since
thought tickling me.
1957, we've always
Kind of
been a year
since the
away.
merger, right?
Yep.
But I think I don't know that this team with the collection of young talent it has is ready to really challenge.
Interesting.
So do I think that they can go out and play their asses off? I do think that. But there is, like, we have been inundated throughout all sports history with the idea that like becoming a winning franchise, regardless of sport, you got to climb a mountain, and like I think that the Lions are, this season would be the step before you try and summit the mountain, and so to me, I think that they need, if you can show that you're that level of team 2 years in a row, I'm more inclined to believe that's who you really are. And then, okay, let's go for it, 2024 or whatever. So,
yeah, we got in the comments here, we got Mark with 10.
Yeah.
And then also Mark with 11. So he's unsure, but
he's
somewhere in double digits.
Got a couple of opinions.
Yep. Funky says with a healthy season, win a home playoff, or it'll feel like a failure. I get that. Yep. I think I'm on the if we're not moving forward and others are, we're falling behind train. So I think that if we have less than 10 wins, I think it'll be a big disappointment. If we don't make the playoffs, it'll be a big disappointment.
Sure.
Will we win a playoff game? I think we have the talent too. I think it would be, if we don't make the playoffs and win a game, it doesn't have to be a home game. Funky's got win a home playoff game. That would be great. There's a lot of other good teams actually, there's not too many great teams in the NFC. They're all in the AFC because that's where the quarterbacks are. But yeah, I'd say 10 wins minimum, playoffs minimum. Winning a playoff game is going to be the bar for me of like, did we make it? If we make the playoffs but don't win the game, I think as long as we didn't get blown out, then embarrass ourselves to say like, we shouldn't have been there, right? If it's a 31-28 nail biter or something, I'm like, okay, we've shown that we deserve to be there and that we earned that spot. But if we go there and get blown out like we did in 1991 in the NFC Championship game, that was an embarrassment. Like we didn't show that we deserved to be in that game. So 10 wins, playoff win would be a success. 10 wins and a close playoff loss would be probably still a success, but a little bit disappointing. Anything less than a playoff berth is going to be I think a failure, an underachievement, I should say.
Yeah, I guess I'm just been hurt by this team in its history too often to be like, I'm going to put my hopes up here, and then if they achieve this, I'm going to be really unhappy with it. I would rather go into a season with no expectations and see what happens, and then hopefully objectively look at it and determine how I feel about it. But it does seem like the stars have kind of aligned in order to give them this opportunity, right? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is out. Vikings looks like their roster is taking a step back. The Bears are still fucking terrible. So like, it does seem like it's Detroit's division to lose, but like I don't ever really want to feel like anything is just handed to us.
Yeah.
And that if you don't achieve it, you're bad.
If it's handed to you and you still don't get there.
Right.
Jeez.
But I also think that Funky's kind of right here. Like I would love to see them win a playoff game. I was like 9 the last time that they won one. So, I mean, I remember watching that game. I think it was against Washington. Dallas.
We beat Washington, I think, in the first round. And then lost to Dallas like 31-3 or something, I think. It was a blowout.
So, I mean, like, it would be nice to see that again. And there's like at least a couple generations of Lions fans who have never seen the team win a playoff game. So, I mean, it would be cool for everybody who has not seen one to have that happen. And so that could certainly be, a measurement of how successful you feel that this season is. But I would rather not get my hopes up.
Yeah. And you were right. I had it backwards. They beat the Cowboys. We beat the shit out of the Cowboys 38-6, and then got annihilated by the Redskins 41-10.
Yeah.
So you were right. It was the Redskins.
I take great pride in knowing that.
The Washington football team.
There we go. But
Commanders, sorry.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like, I think there's probably going to be something to take away that's positive from the season, regardless of the record. I just don't want to pin all my hopes on the record, right? Like, Jano's out for the first 6. Health always being a factor for everybody. Like, it seems like we're going to get healthy. Like, Tracy Walker's been declared ready to go. I'm waiting to hear about Emmanuel Mosley. That's kind of the last guy. I mean, I guess Levi and maybe Vitae you could throw in the bucket there of kind of injury concerns, but like not too many people, so I just want them to go out there and be competitive and not a team that everybody laughs at and like, oh, that's a win on the old, schedule. We have to go to Detroit and get a win, roll our eyes. We don't even really have to work hard. But, we talked
I don't
about
think that's this team anymore.
And like, I hope not, and like, that's, in the first year, the last, they played hard in every game and it wasn't a pushover. There's a couple times that it got away from us, but last season, they had a winning record and there were a couple of games that looked just totally awful, but they changed the narrative, and like, I think this year, the thing that I want to see was that the outlier?
Yeah.
Or is that the new norm? So like, I think it's the new norm. I hope and wish and pray that it's the new norm.
Yeah.
But
that's where they've set the expectations up. The expectations, that's the norm. So
correct.
If they fall back, it's going to be
there will be headlines and fans will be upset and the whole nine. So
all right. So second question, which rookie do you think is going to have the biggest impact?
So to me, I'll just go through so to me, it's the first 4 guys drafted that even have a chance to fulfill that question. And so, I think it's a real interesting question because Gibbs is going to split carries and touches with Montgomery.
Yep.
Then the next guy was Jack Campbell, and Jack Campbell is going to be a linebacker who is going to have to, at least I would think, split time in the first part of the season between Anzalone and Rodriguez. Congratulations to Rodriguez. He got engaged, by the way.
Yep.
And then the guy
and Jack Campbell also just got engaged.
Yeah, it's a good season for 23 and unders on the Lions rosters as far as marriages are concerned.
Yeah.
But I think the guy that I think is going to have the best opportunity to have the biggest impact is Sam Laporta. So
interesting. Okay.
There is a clear path to him being the starter and the guy that's going to get 75-80% of the snaps at tight end on offense. And if he is as advertised and lightning with the ball in his hands, which I never saw at Iowa because I only saw them when they played Michigan. But if he is that guy, if he's the guy they drafted to be yards after catch, explosive in the open field, better prospect than Michael Mayer, then that's the guy that I would say is going to have. And like, I think it was Dr. Detroit that made a joke about Goff earlier in the chat, but like that Sam Laporta is going to be a step above your outlet wide receiver. So Goff does not want to throw the ball downfield and is not good at it. And so I think that if you have another wide receiver or a pass catcher, operating in the middle of the field, and it's something like Gibbs, St. Brown, and Laporta carving up the underneath stuff, I think he's got a chance to have, I don't know, 70 catches for 800 yards and 6 touchdowns, something like that.
Wow, as a rookie.
You're not going to have JMO for the first 6.
Right.
I don't know how much. I'm really curious to see how they use Gibbs, because he's my number 2 right there with him. But
he's my number 1.
Yeah.
Almost for the same reasons, other than the easy path to starterhood. Obviously, he's going to be splitting time, but I think he's going to be that electric option and a dump pass, check down target. He'll be a good, I think, 3rd and short, 4th and short kind of guy. So I think he's going to get a lot of those short West Coast type passes and fill a lot of the role that DeAndre Swift did, but probably better and hopefully healthier, for God's sakes. But yeah, so that I was going with Gibbs as my, and I think that he may actually take more handoffs than Montgomery.
I'll take that
by the end of the year. I think he may end up doing more.
I will take that back. I will take that bet right now. Name the stakes.
a burger after Carter is nice.
I accept.
All right. Should we qualify it for health reasons?
No.
But no, I think he's got the potential to win that starting job and get more handoffs. I think he's going to get more receptions than Montgomery. So
I think he'll get more receptions. Yeah, I think he'll get more receptions. I don't think that he'll get more handoffs. So
yeah, he may not.
But so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. The only rookie in the top couple rounds that I don't think is going to see the field is Hooker. Right. And we kind of hope he doesn't see the field for a while, because A, he's got to get healthy, and B, that means Jared Goff went down, and it's going to be a tough rest of the season.
I would not expect to see Hendon Hooker during the NFL regular season this year.
Yeah, I would not either.
Maybe
mop up duty, right?
Maybe. I mean, so we'll see. Like, the most important thing for this team of anything is that Jared Goff doesn't get hurt. As much as I don't like him, it's imperative that he not get hurt.
Yes, totally agree. So we did talk about Rodrigo previously. Is he going to get much playing time outside of special teams? He was killer on special teams, but we just picked Jack Campbell. We re-signed Anzalone. What's his role?
Those do seem like very good points that he's going to play less, which I don't understand. I like him. We had Will on to talk about what his role could be, and how he's different than Jack Campbell. And clearly the Lions see a need to at least differentiate the skill set at linebacker. That's why they spent a first-round pick on Jack Campbell. However, I think that the reason that people are quote unquote down on Rodrigo right now is that he didn't play as well at the end of the season. And the reason why I think that he didn't play as well is because he was hurt.
Yeah.
And he had the elbow injury. And I think that he was a good soldier, like the Lions have kind of said that they've wanted to see from players who put on an arm brace and went out there and was on the field. And I think that the first half of the season when he wasn't hurt was very different from the second half of the season when he was hurt.
Yeah.
And so I have a hard time believing that the rookie 6th-round pick that beat out the rest of the linebacker room and started alongside Alex Anzalone and was great for the first half of the season is just going to be quietly shipped aside to the special teams unit. But at the same time, he's a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
And a linebacker. So, I mean, like, it's what loss really is it? I mean, he's not Luke Kuechly.
Right.
So I don't really give a shit, I suppose. But like, it does seem like the thing that I would have preferred if I knew Jack Campbell was going to be taken by the Detroit Lions, my preference would have been cool. Rodrigo, Jack Campbell, let's roll.
Right. Yeah.
But
Why spend $9 million on
then they fucking
Anzalone?
re-signed Alex Anzalone, and I'm sitting here just like, what? So like,
Yeah. Although they did re-sign Anzalone before the draft, right? So
yes, which made it so much more surprising.
Yeah.
When they took him.
Yeah. I think when they signed Anzalone,
where is
though,
he
they
gonna
made
play?
it. I think they made it friendly for being able to be cut very easily after the season, with very little downside. And then they went, "Oh shit, Campbell fell to us. We're going to take him, and we can get a year out of Anzalone. We get Campbell. Rodrigo can be there, and maybe this is Anzalone's last season with us for cap reasons."
That's certainly a possibility. I would not want. I don't, now that they have these two effectively young linebackers, I don't want to see them go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like you have the whole linebacker position cost controlled for the two years after this upcoming season. So like, I wonder if I'm wondering how realistic it would be to say Rodrigo and Campbell outplay Alex Anzalone, and you just have a worthwhile veteran that might be slightly overpaid on the roster.
Yeah.
But I think that it will not be a surprise to me whatsoever if it's Anzalone and Campbell week 5 from then on out, and Rodrigo's primarily a special teams player. I just don't want to put a third linebacker on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So.
All right. So here's an interesting one. Which Lions end up making the Pro Bowl?
I think that the answer to this is, as much as I don't want it to be, Penny Sewell.
Penny Sewell, yeah.
I think that he's probably, if you have a player on the roster that's the best at his position relative to other players at that position in the league, he's the one that could make the Pro Bowl at his position. Now, the guy that I think probably should get it but won't is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
He is great, but I just don't think that he doesn't put up the same kind of plays that like Jamar Chase does.
Yeah, and he's a possession receiver,
right? And
not flashy.
And the Pro Bowl, for as big of a joke as it has become, and it is now officially a joke, those guys don't get the credit that they deserve. But he was PFF's number 2 ranked wide receiver in the league last year.
Yeah.
He said,
I think we have several people that have an opportunity to get in the Pro Bowl. I think Sewell is. We've got 2 guys on the roster in, I don't know if it was PFF or ESPN or NFL.com's top 100 players. One was Penei Sewell. The other was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
But I think Ragnow has an opportunity to get there.
Okay.
I think Hutch has an opportunity to get there. And I wouldn't be completely surprised if Gardner Johnson ends up also there. It really comes down to obviously how he takes to the new system and all that kind of stuff. But we've got several guys that I think are good enough to make the Pro Bowl. Now, granted, there's only so many players that can be selected for the Pro Bowl. But I think those guys, Sewell, St. Brown, Ragnow, Hutch, Gardner Johnson, I think all 5 of those could very easily end up making the Pro Bowl.
Okay. Yeah, I certainly think there's a reality out there where that happens. But unless Hutch can get his sack numbers up to something like 11 or 12, I don't think that he has a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. I think that he can. I mean, he's top 5 all-time favorite Michigan Wolverines for me. So I mean, like, I want to believe that he can do that.
Right.
But like I think that the odds of him being able to do that would have been better if they drafted a pass rusher early to take some of the focus off of
Supplement.
him. Like I think that Hutch is either a low level 1 as an edge rusher or a high level 2 pass rusher in the NFL. So I hope that it's the first one.
Right.
But there were a couple of games last year where he got pretty fortunate, I would think. So like an interception was thrown directly to him on like one of the 9 plays in the season that he dropped into coverage.
Right.
He had 3 sacks against Washington in the first half, I believe. That doesn't seem repeatable, but
Right.
at the same time, you can't discount it because he did it.
Right.
But like,
it's a thing that happened, so you can't take it away, right? That doesn't guarantee it's going to happen again.
So I wonder, if he is a 10 sack a year guy for 6-7 years, that's fantastic. It's just not elite. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how he goes. I think he's got the potential to. I don't think he peaked last year, right?
No.
I think he still has growth to go. He was 9.5 sacks,
I believe so.
I think with guys like Okwara coming back healthy, Houston maybe getting more playing time.
See, that's the guy.
Like some of those guys that are gonna, I think, help open him up.
Yeah, good. I mean, I think that's exactly what he's going to need. It's like if you can get, I don't know that he's ever going to. You're ever going to get people to stop chipping him because of the guy on the other side, unless you invest another high round pick in a rush defensive
guy on the other side.
But if you can get it to the point where he's the reason why the guy on the other side is causing havoc, fine. If he's occupying 2 players on offense, like the guy assigned to block him and the guy assigned to chip him, that's a win for the defense because it's
right.
1.5 to 2 players that are, that they have to make sure deals with Aiden Hutchinson. So whether or not you can take advantage of that, that's the important thing. So like his presence out there already to me is you're helping us win the matchup battle on defense. That's just why I think that having 2 of those guys is so unbelievable because then it's like pick your poison. Who do you want to beat you?
Yeah.
And like that's the guy I would have wanted to invest in because you've already invested so much in Aiden. So making that dynamic work as early as possible felt good to me.
Yeah.
But maybe that guy is James Houston or Romeo Okwara or Kaminsky or Pascal or who knows?
The other Okwara.
Right.
Julian.
But we'll just have to wait and see. That's what kind of is the fun of seeing how the season's going to unfold.
Yeah. So, and we can start with the since we're already talking defense, we can start with the defense if you want, or we can start with the offense. What do you think the key is to our offense? And same question for the defense.
I think the key to the offense is how healthy the offensive line is. Like, if Goff needs to do play action passing in order to be really effective, that's what he's shown to be very good at. So he needs time. He needs that extra, heartbeat, blink moment of time. And I think that if the line is healthy and they're all out there together, he can do that. So I'm going to say the offensive line because I think that that's the actual unit that makes the offense work for Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Defense, it's very clearly to me how quickly this secondary gels.
Yeah.
If they come out and it's like game week 2, week 3, and they're gelling, I think this season is going to be overwhelmingly successful for the Detroit Lions. But if it looks like it did at times last year, where guys were coming in and out of the lineup, and was that your guy? Oh, was that my assignment?
Yeah.
Like then I think
broken plays where they're looking at each other as the other guy's flying down with the ball, right?
That's how they lost to Minnesota, right? So like, to me, that's the big thing on defense is not necessarily like who you added or who you didn't. It's how well this new unit looks. And like almost every year, every team adds a player here or a player there to different units. And it's about figuring out what that group looks like. And then if it looks good, then you have some continuity from year to year. But this was a huge overhaul. The Lions made a lot of moves for their secondary. Sutton, Mosley, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, drafted Brian Branch. It's like a lot of dudes, 4 guys, out of the 6 guys that might actually play. So there's my.
Yeah. I think for me on the offense, I think it's Ben Johnson. I think he's the key to the offense. Sure. And in particular, I think it's about, can he be successful 2 years in a row, right? The NFL is a copycat league. There's infinite amount of video. And the question is he going to get figured out? Or is he going to be able to maintain just his play calling last year was the best play calling I've seen maybe all my life as a Lions fan. Certainly was the best play calling since Barry retired. Our coaching and play calling has always been like the bane of our existence throughout all of Stafford's time, before Stafford's time, and even the first part of last year, Goff's first year with us, our play calling was not particularly great. That's why we got rid of the offensive coordinator. But I definitely think Ben Johnson is the key to that offense, and whether he can do things to stay unique, taking, that play to the pass play to Sewell on 3rd and 1 or whatever, it was well schemed. It was well executed. It was brilliant. So can he still do those kinds of things? And or are people going to figure him out?
Sure.
So that's why I think he's kind of the main key to the offense. Defense, I think it's going to be pressure on the quarterback because I do think the secondary is going to take a little bit of time to get together and gel, learn the playbook, learn each other's tendencies, all that kind of stuff. And I think if you give any quarterback in this league time, they will win. They will beat the secondary every time if they've got enough time. So I think the pressure that we'll have to get, whether it's Hutch or Houston getting more snaps and being just as effective, which is pretty high bar with the amount of sacks versus the number of snaps, that's pretty absurd. But hey, if we can get pressure, I think it'll give those guys a little bit of time where they can gel. So that's kind of at least for the first half of the season, I think that's the key to the defense.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Funky, he's got offense, the line plays top shelf, and defense, the secondary gelling. Like it. Dr. Detroit says maybe it's his aunt. She could be the key to either the offense or the defense, possibly even both.
Oof, it's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. All right, so what about which player might take a step back this year? Who are we afraid of taking a step back this year?
The easy answer is Jared Goff. If Jared Goff is not who he was, every bit of it, from last year, it's not
the last 10 games of last year. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, like he played well in the first half of the season. I just think that what they learned to do was work taking away the things that are problematic for you.
Yeah.
And that was the big reason why they went from 1-7 to 8-2. But like the Philly game, he played well. He just had a tipped ball that was returned for an interception. that sucks.
Yeah.
But he still played well. It's just like I should say his stats were good, but like and like against Seattle, they're one play away from the that game being completely different as well. So I mean, like if the first half of the season last year was 3-4 or 3-5 or whatever it was, instead of 1-7, like they make the playoffs, and we're talking about like, well, we need to make the title game. Like that's how razor thin some of these margins are. I don't know that there is a single player on defense that I could look at and say, if that guy goes down, we're in a lot of trouble. Aiden is the easiest one, I think, to put there, because like otherwise the defensive line is, as far as pass rush is concerned, just like a bunch of guys. I mean, Romeo had a 10-sack season at one point, but you're playing James Houston as your rush edge at that point. Like he gets a lot more snaps.
Yeah.
The guy that I'm really worried about, I think, is Ragnow. It sounds like the issue with his toe is going to be systemic for the rest of his career. And that he came out and said something to the effect of like, my toe is like destroyed, basically. Like it just doesn't work the way a toe should. And like
it's gotta be uncomfortable, right?
Right. I mean, I have had torn ligaments in my body before. It sucks. I can't imagine trying to do anything that you're supposed to use. Like for me, it was my arm. But like, I can't imagine trying to do anything that your arm is supposed to do while you had torn ligaments. And just
you're not playing tennis very well, are you?
Right. And like now go and play a professional sport at the highest level.
Yeah.
With that, I respect him for it. But like, I think there is a reason why like Creed Humphrey, grades out better than Frank Ragnow as a center currently in the NFL, because I think this limits him just enough. He's still a top 5 center, but I don't think he's the number 1 center in the NFL. And I think that if he did not have this issue, he could be. And if it's any worse, like not having him would be disastrous. So
he does anchor that offensive line.
Correct. So like, to me, that's the thing that I'm worried about. Like I have similar concerns about Decker. Like he's had nagging loss of time injuries in the past as well. And like, I just don't want to see it. I want everybody to be healthy, and that's not always realistic, but at the same time, like it's going to affect them quite a lot if those things crop up.
Yeah. My guys, I think a couple people are primed for a sophomore slump type of thing. I think Rodrigo could take a small step back this year. But I think on the defense, my biggest person that I don't know if he's going to live up to the same expectations that he set last year is Kirby Joseph.
Sure.
He played great. Like he was 4th round, 3rd round. 3rd round. But he played like a first rounder. I mean, he is a ball hawk. He made a lot of plays. Aaron Rodgers is probably happy that he's not playing against him twice a year. But he's the guy that I think maybe he overperformed a little bit and he'll take maybe a step back. On offense, I'm not really sure actually on offense. I'm a little concerned that Amon-Ra St. Brown will take a step back this year. I think if he does, it's going to be devastating to our offense. But he's such a good route runner and he's got such great hands. I think that his role is just that same Cooper Kupp type of thing where you're just going to be in those short West Coast offense type things. You run really solid routes. You're going to be able to get open. So as long as Goff can hit him in stride, I think he'll probably be fine. But he's the guy that I fear. Because can you imagine if he either gets hurt or takes a big step back? What is our offense? I think it takes a giant drop off.
I have no concerns about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that
I don't think he will, but he's the one I'm like, God, if anybody does, that would be devastating.
Yeah, he's like the definition of. I don't think, unless it's an injury, I don't think that it's possible, really. I mean, I just don't
Do you
think
think he can keep up like
yes.
number 1, number 2, number 3 graded wide receiver in the NFL? Do you think he's that good?
Yeah, I do. And the reason why is I think that it's a combination of things. The work ethic that we saw from Hard Knocks, and the fact that PFF had a stat last year. He like a third of his plays a third of his catches come against linebackers, and he just chews those guys up because they're not quick enough.
Yeah,
that's not changing. So like, the fact that his hands are as good as they are. I think he had 2 drops in his rookie season and 4 drops in his sophomore season. Fine. I can live with
out
a
of
wide receiver having
20 targets or something.
So like, I'm fine with a wide receiver having 3 drops a year if you're going to also put up 100 catches, 1,000 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And I don't know that I don't know that there's a way that he can not achieve that if they just don't use him. I mean, we've never seen him play with JMO healthy.
Yeah.
So hopefully week 7, we're going to start to see that. And it might take targets away. You would imagine they would start targeting Jameson Williams a little bit.
I would hope so. Otherwise they wasted a pick.
Right. And I think that Gibbs will get receptions. I think Laporta will get receptions. And I think he'll have less of the pie, but I also think that he's the thing that Jared Goff relies on in the offense. Yeah. And if it's 3rd and 4 and we need a first down, I think they are going to St. Brown. So I think he is
he's
Jared
the chain
Goff's
mover. He's the
go-to.
Yeah, he's Linus's Blanky. Right.
So plus I love what he did to Bears fans at the draft. I thought that was hilarious. So
yes, that was great. I've been a big fan of the players that we've gotten and just the personalities and the things that they've done. That was cool. I loved that Brian Branch stuck around for the second round of the draft, even though he was expected to go in the first and didn't. I thought that was awesome. I liked watching Sewell on the mic'd up at the Pro Bowl. I don't know if you watched any of those videos, but he was a riot. He seems just like a pretty cool, genuine guy. So I'm a fan of the guys that we got right now. All right, here's another one for you. Is anybody on the hot seat this year? Campbell was on the hot seat to start last year, and especially after the first 6 or 7 games. We started off 1-6, and then winning cures all ills, and he was damn near coach of the year. So I don't think he's on the hot seat. Is there anybody on the hot seat this year for you need to perform or you're gone?
So I think Aaron Glenn is out of excuses. So the secondary was a problem for the first 2 years that he was there. They went out and seriously invested in it, and they brought in a guy in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson that has played for Aaron Glenn and knows the system that he's running. So not only do you have quote unquote better players back there this year, you have a guy who should be the guy. I would be surprised if it's not Chauncey who's back there making the adjustments for the secondary unit with his familiarity as to what Aaron Glenn wants to run. And if that unit doesn't perform, he'll be the scapegoat. I mean, I think that's it. I was kind of surprised that he lasted through last year, especially after the start. They decided to go with Aubrey Pleasant, and then shit turned around pretty quick. So I think that bought him a lot of, okay, well, you just said winning cures all ills. That's very real, and I think that you bought yourself some additional time with the way that they finished the second half of last year. But if the rest of the team is playing well and the secondary is not, or the defense continues to give up 30, it doesn't matter how old the players are or what moves they made in the offseason. Someone's going to get the chopping block, and it's probably not going to be any of the players. So
it's a lot easier to fire one coach than it is 53 players, right?
that's right. So I mean, if my thinking is, if anyone is, it's Aaron Glenn.
Yep, he was my pick as well.
Oh,
do I think he's on the hot seat? No, but I don't think he's feeling the heat. But at the same time, if he doesn't perform, it's gonna, like you said, he's got no excuses. We've revamped the worst part of our team, and if we don't get a big boost, I think it's going to be tough sailing for him.
Right.
Speaking of Aaron Glenn, and then we'll throw Ben Johnson in this as well, because both of them interviewed for head coaching gigs this past year. Ben Johnson pulled himself out of the running, apparently. And he said, I want to stick with this team. I like what we're doing. I like the momentum and all that kind of stuff. I believe in this team. I believe in Campbell. Say we go, we win 11 games. We get to the playoffs. We win a playoff game. Maybe we even get to the NFC Championship game, and then we lose. Is Ben Johnson around? Is he going to be gone? Or do you think he's going to be like, oh, man, we are so close, and I can potentially win a Super Bowl with the Lions or off for head coach?
I do not see a future where he's on the team next year. Here's my rationale.
All right.
If he's even sort of what he was last year and maintains that reputation, you'd be insane to not go become a head coach in the NFL. Insane. Do you know who Joe Brady is?
Yep.
You do?
Yeah, I recognize that name.
Who is he?
He was an offensive coordinator, wasn't he?
He was. He was the head coach of the 2019 LSU Tigers that Joe Burrow played on, and that got him a job in Carolina with Matt Rule. And he was supposed to be the next king shit head coach in the NFL. And then Matt Rule's organization fell apart. Matt Brady bounced to one team, and now he's with the Bills as their quarterbacks coach. And that's the kind of shit that can happen if you don't strike when the iron is hot. And so the iron is hot right now for Ben Johnson, and I think that he's probably going to be the most sought after head coaching candidate next season.
Yeah.
And if you go into an off season, and I know you don't get to pick the teams that are going to have new head coaches, but if it's like Washington, or I can't even think of another team right now that would be
Indy. They just hired
the guy from the Eagles. So so they're a year behind. But what happens if
Andy Reid retires? Belichick retires, right? Either one of those guys.
Jeez. If the Chargers head coach doesn't live up to the expectations, and you have the opportunity to go and work with Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
I mean, if he stays in Detroit, I'll be thrilled. I will also say, dude, you missed your shot. Because there's not a lot. I mean, the league is pretty unforgiving. You don't get, I mean, there's guys that get other additional shots.
Yeah.
But I mean, it takes time. And Josh McDaniel is a good example. Built a name for himself as an OC in New England, went to Denver. It was an unmitigated disaster. He goes back to New England. Now he's back. Now he's in Las Vegas. He got another shot. It's not going great.
Who was the coach that was? I mean, he just flew up the charts. Quarterbacks coach in Denver with Peyton, and then went to, I think, Chicago to be offensive coordinator for a year. Then ended up as head coach in Miami, and then head coach in the Jets.
Adam Gase.
Yeah, same kind of thing, right? He was this wonderkind type of
offensive. Yeah.
Yes, like this offensive coordinator. He did phenomenal stuff. Then he got up to head coach, and he did okay in Miami, but only lasted like 3 seasons there. And then he went to the Jets, where it was just a shit show of an organization. I don't think anybody was going to be successful there, just based on how the organization and management was there. Super smart dude, though.
Right.
I followed his career through Michigan State when he was Saban's clipboard carrier and just student athlete or student helper all the way right up through. He graduated from the same high school I did and played high school football or rocket football, I think, with my brother. But super good dude, but really, really bright. And every step of the way, he excelled. And then he got to the Dolphins and the Jets, and I think it was just one past. If you're familiar with the Peter principle, I think that landed right on his face. But offensive coordinator, he was great.
See, here's the thing I think that is unfortunate about the Ben Johnson situation. He clearly is very good at what he does right now.
Yeah.
That is no guarantee that you're good at being a head coach.
Yeah.
There are head coaches who would be shit coordinators in the NFL who are good at being head coaches. And there are coordinators who would be shit head coaches who are great at being coordinators.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of them he is, but I would say the evidence says he's at least great at being a coordinator.
Yeah.
And I don't know that if you have a guy like that there's really a number that you can't pay him as much as your head coach, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was close.
Yeah.
Now, if he's the next Kyle Shanahan, even though Kyle Shanahan hasn't won shit, like I think that teams are like, oh, if you're the next Kyle Shanahan, where's my checkbook? I'll just write you a check.
Yeah.
Like
use McVay, at least he won a ring.
Right.
But yeah. I always worry about some of these guys. And for anybody that doesn't know, the Peter principle, if you're not familiar with it, it is a theory of management that talks about like people in hierarchy tend to rise to a certain level of incompetence. So employees are promoted based on their success in their current jobs until they reach a level at which they're no longer competent. So you basically got to get promoted until you're not good at it. I was a technician, and then I was an engineer, and then I was a manager. You know what? As it turns out, I was a great engineer, but I'm a terrible manager. And this is the same kind of thing when it comes to, is he a great offensive coordinator, but going to be a bad head coach? I don't know. But I'm always worried about some of those guys. But you don't know until you get there, right? If where the top is of what your capabilities are. He is certainly a great OC.
If you don't try, you'll never know, right? So
yeah. But at the same time, like, would you rather move and be a head coach at a shitty team, because only shitty teams have coach openings, unless you have a guy like Belichick retiring or Reed retiring or whatever. Do you want to go be a head coach for a shitty team, or be an offensive coordinator on a team that is potentially a Super Bowl candidate? Do you want to potentially win a ring, or be a head coach? And I don't know. Like that would be the thing that I would wrestle with. Like, oh, my dream's always been a head coach. But at the same time, my dream's also been a Super Bowl.
Well, we could ask Dan Campbell. I mean,
yeah.
He took over the Lions, and it was not great.
Yeah, but he wasn't on a team that was, like, close to a Super Bowl.
Right, but, like, I mean, once again, I think that, like, a guy like Eric Bieniemy, making a lateral move from Kansas City to Washington he's doing that because he's trying to show that he can do that anywhere, and not just with Patrick Mahomes, so that he can get an opportunity to go be a head coach somewhere, potentially
in Washington.
Right. And if he's Rivera's replacement, like the unnamed heir or whatever, neat. Maybe that promise was made to him by ownership. But I think that if I was Ben Johnson and I had an opportunity to be the number 1 or number 2 head coaching candidate in the offseason, if I'm going to be a offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, because we're on the up and up, you had better pay me a lot more money.
I think he got paid this year.
Well, I mean, like, I think that he's making significantly more, but like I'm saying, like,
pay me head coach money.
He should be making a lot of money, like more than you would think an offensive coordinator should be making. If you're going to keep a guy with that opportunity in this current role, then you have to offset that. And the only way to do that is with money.
Yeah.
So,
and that doesn't count against your cap. So,
yeah, so
give
I don't
him
give a
all
shit
the money
about that.
you want.
Write him whatever check you want, Sheila. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But
I'll just sign it down here. You fill it out and cash it.
Yeah, but like if something like I'm just trying to think. Like if something like Atlanta or Washington or I don't know, even something like Miami opened up, I would tell him to go do it. Like I don't even care if the team's bad, to be honest. I mean, like, yeah, you're right. Most of the teams that have head coaching turnover are bad teams. So
yeah.
But bad teams do also become good teams, so
especially to get the right head coach. Just
yeah, I think that's a big part.
The current, yeah. Those were the big. So Aaron Glenn, he was a head coaching. I think he was a finalist at one or two places. Didn't make either of them. What are your thoughts? He'll be back.
Here's my general thought for anybody who's a coordinator in the NFL is if you get a chance to be a head coach, you should go do
it.
Right. Do I think he will be a head coach in the NFL? So spoiler alert, I'm gonna play the race card here. Okay. I don't think Aaron Glenn's gonna be a head coach because I don't think that a lot of organizations want black head coaches. I think that they are hamstrung by the Rooney Rule in order to interview them, which is why every fucking head coaching cycle, you see Eric Bieniemy, Aaron Glenn, Brian Flores, and maybe one or two other guys go and they get an interview, and then they're ushered out the door, and they all say the same thing. Felt like it was a real interview. Talked to him for 4 hours about what I would have done. Toured the facility, met the people in charge, all that good stuff. Then they never get jobs. And then the teams that did the interviewing satisfied the Rooney Rule, and they go and they bring in the guy that they had targeted for the job anyways. That feels like, to me, how the NFL head coaching system works.
Yeah.
Now, I think it would be good for the Lions if Aaron Glenn got a head coaching job, because then they would get 2 third-round picks for him ascending as a minority head coaching candidate. Yep. And I want that. And then you could promote, is his name Kelvin Shepard, the linebackers coach, to be the new DC, and maybe you can just be a pipeline. That's kind of what I want to see. I would like to see the Lions become a pipeline for minority head coaches. Not only does it give us additional draft picks if they get signed to be head coaches, but it's just a good look for the league. And like, once again, as a mid-market team, you have to do something else to be the reason why someone goes there, whether it's a player, or coach, or whoever. Money's a big one. But like, if the Lions become like, oh, they really give a shit about minority head coaches, and that leads to better coaching opportunities for people, and that can help us win, I'm all about it.
Do you think it's at an ownership level then?
Yeah. Who is the NFL? It's the 32 owners. That's
right.
When people talk about the league, what they really mean is Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell answers to the owners of the NFL. Like, he's supposed to be the check and balance against their ownership, so it's not like collusion or what have you.
Right.
But it's very clearly not what you drew up on paper either. So, like, that's fine. If the owners want to hire Goodell to have him be the guy that everybody hates, more power to him.
He has brought them so much money, they can't be upset with him.
No, you cannot be upset with. I mean, like, Roger Goodell, the reason that he's been re-signed, I think, twice to be the commissioner of the NFL is that under his regime, or whatever you want to call it, leadership, like, the NFL is something that's talked about all year long and makes more money than every other, like, national sports organization combined.
Yeah.
There's no competing with the NFL anymore. Like, the NBA playoffs were on or something like that, and like a game between like the Seahawks and the Bucks got like twice the ratings. People just don't give a shit about other sports.
Like 91 of the 100 most watched television things were NFL games.
Right. Like, and if you're the NFL next year, you're like, well, we want that to be 92, in 2023.
Yeah. That's so disappointing. We had more games than that.
Right. Exactly. So like,
maybe you should have thought about that when you scheduled shitty things for Thursday night Amazon Prime stuff.
ooh, and like, there's no way that they could have, if there was a plan for it to be that bad, it wouldn't have gone that bad.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like, let's really tank this. And they wouldn't have come up with that schedule. It was
just awful.
Yeah. I felt bad for the announcers because you're just like, Jesus Christ. I don't even know. Hey, they completed a pass.
Exactly. But like, I mean, do you think that I'm going to get Prime after that first go around? I mean, to watch football?
Not just for football.
Fuck no.
Yeah. I would, I would say, like, I enjoyed, like, I didn't enjoy the games. I enjoyed the broadcast. I liked the guys that were doing the broadcast, but I liked the things that Prime did with the next gen stats feed. I don't know if you saw that. That was badass.
No, I didn't watch it. Yeah.
Oh, so you had a bunch of different. You had your normal national feed, and then there was, I think, a Spanish feed.
Sure.
And then there was this like other, I don't know, this third feed. Then the fourth one, I want to say there were 4 feeds, and the fourth one was a next gen stats one, and it was real time, like bubbles over the players, so it showed their names as they were running the routes. It was showing stats on the side, like the odds of success for a given play if they're going for 4th and 1 or whatever. It was pretty sweet. You would appreciate it, being the analytics and data nerd that we are.
Sure.
It was pretty slick.
I think that's great, man. And like, hopefully it goes better year 2. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know that it could go so.
Do we play any Thursday night games this year?
I think so. Do. I think there's one. I don't know whom it's against, but
yeah, I was thinking we had a Thursday night, a Monday night. Do we have a Saturday game way at the end?
I don't think we have any Saturday games. I know we have at least one Monday Night Football. We have Thanksgiving.
Oh, we have the Thursday opener against Kansas City,
and the opener against KC.
And then week 4 is Thursday night, again against Green Bay. Okay. The opener's not on Prime; it's on NBC. And then Thursday, week 4 is on Amazon Prime against Green Bay. We've got a Monday Night Football against the Raiders on ESPN. And what else we have? And then Saturday, December 30th at the Cowboys at 8:15. So Saturday Night Football at the end. And then the 18th week is to be determined. It's a flex game. They don't even know when it's going to happen. We just know it's going to be home against Minnesota.
So, there you go.
Cool. Well, dude, we are at time. This was fun. I like doing the kind of just the light question, mailbaggy type things. So thanks for joining and whatnot. Dr. D, Funky, you guys in the chat there. Thanks for joining us as well. Next Tuesday is the 4th of July. We're not going to be on next Tuesday. I'm not going to be on next Tuesday.
I will not be either. I will be
all right
celebrating our independence with my family. So
excellent. So we're going to take next Tuesday off. Maybe Drew and I will put together some sort of recording thing and pop it out there during the week. I don't know. To be determined. But I don't know. We haven't talked about it at all.
My Sunday morning is free.
Your Sunday morning's free. All right. Well, maybe we'll do a recording and pop it out next week. But we will not catch you next Tuesday. So yes, yeah. So like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It's helps us get seen. We appreciate that. Email us at casualgmpodcast@gmail.com or add us at casualgm1 on Twitter. I think I got through it all.
You did great, Mike. Thanks,
I
guys.
do my best. All right, we'll see y'all. Peace.